Well guys, it's finally done, the 26-inch BMX conversion from a girl's mountain bike, and I think it just turned out so cool. Anyways, kind of a long video. I'm not very funny, I don't write my scripts ahead of time. Part one's already out, but here's the second part and the final part. You know, I haven't gotten any of those like cinematic rolling shots or anything yet. That'll probably come this coming weekend. But here's the build, and I hope you guys enjoy. Well, thanks for joining me on this part. And the best news is I actually remembered my microphone today. How about that? So where we left off is the top tube got tacked in. Now I'm going to take my angle grinder and we're going to cut these seat stays and bring them down to this area. And that should get us kind of the general shape of what we're looking for. I might, I'll post a picture right here. I might do this. Looks pretty cool, huh? I think I like it. So yeah, let's get to cutting. All right, so now that we got the tension cut out of here, you can see that that sprung down pretty hard. I'm gonna go ahead and use the tape measure and go from here and just sweep it down and cut off however much more I'm gonna need to make these bars match up here. And if you really care about your project, guys, make sure you guys use a really nice tape measure. You know, something like this, that'll get you some really accurate cuts, for sure. Pittsburgh, this is high dollar, man. This makes Snap-on look like play toys. All right, so I'm just going to take the end of the tape measure and kind of go generically where I'm going to be bending this. And we're going to go all the way up to here. So it looks like the longest portion of it I'd like it to be is, we're going to go 15.5. Seems about right. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this and we'll get it cut. What was that number again? Oh. Thanks, I appreciate it. You're always there for me. All right, 15.5. Now I am gonna cut it just a little bit on the long side. We could always take off, well, we could always add metal too, but it's easier to keep taking it off than it is to put it back on. So 15.5 gets us right about there. That seems close enough. I'm just gonna eyeball the other side because this is kind of horseshoes and hand grenades here. You know, if we have like a 1/16 of an inch gap or an 1/8 inch gap, we can fill that in. And I'm also making sure that I'm cutting at an angle like this, like a V shape. That way when these tubes fall into here, they're already kind of, you know, radiused. I know, my head was in the way for that one. And so I think I might torch this because if I go like that, I can feel the bike lowering a little bit and I don't really want to lower it too much. All right, well, I had thought about torching these seat stays, but I think the bottoms are brazed and I'd really hate to ruin that. So I think we're gonna go ahead and just take a couple of pie cuts out of here. I'm not quite sure yet. Dun, 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 dun. Ta-da! All right, what I'm going to try to do is when I push these down, the bike kind of lowers. I'm just going to try to squeeze these two together. That way I'm not kind of bending it over here at all. All right, how does that angle look, guys? Ooh, I like that. All right, and these angles might look a little bit too steep, but now what we're going to do is bend each one of these in, and I think that's going to make everything meet up pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off the top portion of the seat post here. We are going to try to reuse the seat clamp, so I'm going to leave maybe an inch and a half right here, just so we can put that clamp back down here. And that'll really tell us how we're going to look. I'm going to cut it just a little bit high because I'm going to grind it flat if needed. Nice. All right, now we're starting to look like a BMX. Well, off camera, I'm gonna try to figure out how to squeeze those in. I might just try to like hold it on one side and use a mallet on the other. Not entirely sure yet, but we'll get there. But look at that profile, man. That looks pretty good. Well, it looks like I could either pie cut this or keep beating it with a hammer. Both of those will work, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and turn to this stuff here, because this is good stuff. I'm not good with oxyacetylene, by the way. Well, that's too much. Okay, we're gonna go here, introduce a little bit of oxygen. Look at that, I made a neutral flame. Now I don't wanna hit this button, and I also don't wanna melt the tire, so we're gonna go ahead and just try to go at an angle. Wow, this stuff gets red hot really quickly. It's almost like this shit's hot. Now, I don't want to get it too hot. I just want the whole thing for like half an inch to get cherry. And I'm gonna try to bend it really slowly to make sure that we don't kink the metal, because that would be really sucky. Okay, a little peck. Well, that didn't do very much. Ah! All right, let's see if that got it hot enough. Okay, we're getting there. Move this back into the frame. Ah! Look how pretty that looks. Okay, we're getting there. The metal isn't kinking, so that's good. And like I said, I'm just trying to make about half an inch of it pretty cherry. Okay, good. We're still recording. Yeah, I'm trying to make about a half inch of it about cherry hot and leaving the tip up here as cool as possible. That way when I do some more hammer smackage, we don't turn this tube into an oval too badly, at least. Okay, we're almost in. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the other side here, and I'll show you guys what it looks like once we're all finished. And we're looking pretty darn close. You know, it's kind of hard for me to see because I didn't wear the fun sunglasses that came with this, but I think we're looking okay. I'm gonna bend those tubes down a little bit, and they should meet a lot closer, and we didn't get any kinks, so how about that? All right, now that everything's bent and sanded to where I want it, I'm gonna go ahead and get this tacked in, so why don't you guys put on your helmet here. Here you go. All right, guys, I think that's how the frame's gonna look. I think that looks really good. All right, now time to carry on with the rest of this stuff.
I can look you for some other containers.
We've been waiting for so long. We've been waiting for this time to.
All right, now that we got most of the stickers off and some of it sanded, I'm going to go ahead and try to find a little chunk of metal here under my workbench and put it up in the vise, and we'll have a place to hang the frame. And the last major part to get rid of are these bearing races. I couldn't get the other crank off, but here's how I do it. So with that piece of metal chalked up in the vise, I just kind of slam the frame down, and it just pops these things right out. Once one comes out, I flip the frame over and do it again. All right, guys, so with the little brake mounts taped off and the, the crank I couldn't get off, all taped up, we're going to go ahead and just give this a final blow. Make sure you get inside the tubes, because there's going to be quite a bit of dust inside all of them, and inside all the little holes and dropout pieces. All right, and we're ready to grab a spray can. Now, I'm definitely not sponsored by them, but I really like the Ace primer. It builds up pretty thick, as you'll see here in a second. So we're going to go ahead and give it a good shake. And for the first coat of primer, I'm staying about 12 to 14 inches away from the frame itself, and we're just going to dust her in. Go all the way left, all the way right. And just like that, we're just going to kind of lightly cover it. We're not looking for 100% coverage just yet. And it doesn't need to be super even. We're going to go over this a couple more times. And now we're on the other side. Like I said, I'm staying pretty far away. You know, you're still going to see quite a bit of the original paint showing up from underneath the gray primer here. But we're looking really good. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get really nice and low. Make sure I get underneath the bottom bracket, bottom side of the chain stays. All right, and once we've done a couple of coats, we're going to go ahead and just let everything sit for the next, I don't know, half hour or so. And all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of color to this thing here. And I really hope you guys like the color I chose. I did decide to run this thing like super old school. So the Diamondback Hot Streak was kind of my inspiration here. And here's what the color is going to look like. Oh, yeah. Oh, that is going to be sweet. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just focus on the painting portion of this and lay some paint on this thing, and I'll put it out in the sun, and we got to take a look at what the color is going to be like. Oh, man, guys. The color just looks way cool. Look at that. Now, it is going to die down a little bit as the paint dries, and I've got a cure for that, but it needs to be like really dry, like dry for a couple days. But it's a really simple process, and I'll show you guys that part here next. All right, guys, look at this. Now, the paint actually did not die down as much as I thought it would. I mean, it's still super shiny. This is the next day, and it's just been sitting out here in the sun for most of the day. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so that paint is definitely dry, and just look how nice and shiny that stayed. I think just a little bit of polishing compound and a microfiber, and that's all this frame's going to need. But that color is just so wicked. So now we start on some other stuff. All right, so we're at the back wheel, obviously. What I'm going to try to do is get this little lock ring off, take off most of these sprockets. We're going to keep the middle one. And I think I'm going to use maybe some steel tubing to build a spacer. And we'll put this little ring back on, and this will be a 1-speed, you know, a little like a normal BMX freewheel. All right, little punch acquired. Hopefully this will do it. I think I saw it move, guys. No, maybe not. I think my mind is playing tricks on me.
Sometimes my mind plays
these tricks on me.
Oh, there we go. All right. All right, we're looking pretty good. I was able to get this ring loosened without really hurting much. And from here, I think all these should be able to come off. Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to put one of these gears back, cut out a couple of steel spacers from all that stuff. And I think we'll be in action here. All right, so this old engine freeze plug has the right inside and outside diameter that I need. So we're going to go ahead and just bust this apart, and I think we got ourselves a spacer. All right, so I've got it trimmed up in half, and the little keeper here kind of fits right in there nice and tight. This little beveled edge, and it fits pretty tight over the freewheel piece, so here's our spacer. So let's go ahead and just put that on top, and then that little channel right here falls right into that trough. Awesome. And there we have it, guys. Yeah, I'm hoping that this is going to line up, because when it was in this gear originally, it was in a pretty straight shot to the middle crank gear. So I think we're going to be okay. Alright guys, so what we're looking at here is the 3-speed crank set, and what I need to do is drill out these holes on this small sprocket and on the other side here, under that little silver plastic facade piece. And with those little holes drilled out, the sprockets came apart. And yeah, look at that. We have ourselves a single-speed crank set now. So with our cranks bolted back on and the bearings are really nice here. I didn't take them out, obviously, because the other crank arm was still stuck, so I haven't had a chance to grease them, but they feel really good, so we're going to go ahead and just run with it. We're just going to be cleaning the and back here, the brakes are ready to go on. Hopefully my gyro is going to be waiting for the paint to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and set it out in the sun for a while longer. And man, that paint color just turned out so cool. I'm so pleased with it. Well, anyways, about this time, I got the gyro in the mail. So I'm going to show you guys quickly how I put a gyro on a mountain bike. All I had to do was hog out this lower piece here. Usually that kind of presses onto the frame. And then I take the bearing cup and I leave a little bit of room inside the middle just so that tube can fit between the two pieces. And then I give it a good tack weld. That way the bearing cup can fully seat into the head tube without any issue. From there, I like to use the Duplicolor engine Ford semi-gloss black. I think it makes a very nice, like, factory-looking, slightly shiny, but not overly shiny paint color. And with that, that leads me to these gyro cables, which are a little bit too long. Now, I left this boss here because it was important to me to see the steel cable kind of floating around and to not use zip ties to hold the brake cables on. So I've got to shorten these and put a new end on them. So I just need a blowtorch, some liquid flux, and a chunk of aluminum that I used to use as a carburetor adapter on an old hot rod of mine. I drilled a 3/16 hole almost all the way through the 3/8 plate. I got the plate hot enough to melt the aluminum into, and then I torched the steel cable a little bit, dipped it in there, and we have a nice new end on the cable. I went ahead and did the other one real quick, and this turned out quite nice. I just needed to finish it using my little belt sander here. I'm just rotating the cable to make a nice barrel at the end. And with that, the gyro cables are shortened and fit perfectly. Now it is kind of a tight little bend there. I wish I had moved the boss back a couple inches, but it works perfectly, so I've got no complaints here. I also got the handlebars and stem, actually almost a complete bicycle from Facebook Marketplace for 10 bucks. And with that, that kind of finished up the last few pieces the bike needed. Now these were before I put the stickers on and the pegs and the new hand grips that you saw kind of in the beginning of this video. And the last thing to do was to take this thing out for a ride and enjoy the fruits of my labor. And this just goes to show you can take a free mountain bike, put about 40 or 50 bucks into it, and have a really bitchin' 26-inch BMX. Now, as you see here, I went the retro route, and I think it just pulled off so perfectly with the paint color and the aluminum wheels. I'm really happy with how this thing was built. So this style may differ from, you know, what you might like. I like the old school kind of tacky colors and the fun pastels. But if you guys are here this long, thanks for watching the video, and stay tuned because there's a lot more coming. And as always, I appreciate you guys taking your time and watching. I'll see you on the next one.